Hi, so part two of the lesson. We only get 5 minutes to record, and I do talk too much, which my class will tell you that. Okay, so um, when these Africans were bundled off the ships and taken to these auctions, where they were then cleaned, scrubbed, and covered in tar and given alcohol to calm down, the um, the people who owned them then wanted to rob them of their identities, of their individuality. So they were separated from their families. So they didn't go in family groups to work on a plantation or down a mine. And they were split up from anybody else who would speak their own language. They were given Western names and they were not allowed to practice African religions or even speak their own language. Can you imagine how that would feel? You arrive in a country after 6 weeks or more on a boat in cramped conditions. You are then sold, and then you have to watch as your family get torn away from you. And you can't speak to the people who are there. You can't ask them what's going on because they don't speak your language. So, branding iron was a metal stamp with the initials of the slave owner, and it was used to show that the slave was their property. These irons were heated in a fire till they glowed red hot, and then they were pressed against the slave's skin where it would sizzle and it would hurt. But then the slave was branded, and should they get lost, try and escape, they could be identified by this branding mark. And as you can see on here, GHC is one of the branding irons, and then the other one is a heart with S and a V. So when they did actually get to do their work, it was manual labour, and they worked from dawn till dusk, 6 days a week. Okay, so on this picture, they're actually cutting down sugarcane, and it was one of the most difficult jobs that the slaves would be asked to do. So sugar plantations were enormous, and they worked all day in the burning Caribbean sun without any rest, without any water. There were no toilet facilities, and they couldn't just pop off somewhere to go and get some lunch. They were there the whole day. So if they didn't do the work, they didn't work hard enough, or they tried to escape, or they broke the rules, or they were rude and cheeky to the owners, they would be whipped. Okay, all the owners and all the people that were in charge of them would carry whips, or they'd have guns or something in order to make sure these slaves did what they were told. One slave named Gordon, he managed to escape from his plantation, and one of the whippings he had, he ended up in bed for 2 whole months. He was in that much pain. So this picture here of this whip, it's made of silver and leather. All right, and this was a lady's whip. So if they were a house slave, which was a job that they all aspired to do, they potentially would be whipped by the lady of the house using a small whip like this. If they continued to do wrong, or if they tried to escape, they came up with this punishment collar, and this was put around the neck of slaves that tried to run away. So these prongs were that long that if they tried to run away, it would catch on any bushes or trees, so it would hinder them. They wouldn't be able to get very far. However, it also made it impossible for them to lie down and sleep, so they couldn't get comfortable, they couldn't rest. In addition to this, slaves were only fed twice a day, and their living conditions were so awful, so appalling, that they were under constant threat of diseases. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to write a short diary entry telling of your arrival in America, the auction, being branded and separated from your family. So you could start from coming off the ship. So you could tell a little bit about what goes on the ship as well. So this is my example. I will start to read it, but I don't know if the video will let me read all of it. From the sounds above me, we had landed. I couldn't move, lying down in chains for days, months, who knows how long. I thought to myself, things can't get any worse. How wrong was I? We were dragged off the ship, bound by wrist and ankle chains. Because of the conditions on the ship, we all stank, so we were scrubbed clean to remove the vomit and feces. I didn't have the energy